Ariel Helwani for avoiding the fight with Tom Aspinall and humiliating himself with his constant tirades on Twitter. There's no other GOAT in any major sport whose final chapter looked like this, Helwani said without holding back. Instead of solidifying his legacy by taking on the most formidable opponent in his division, Jones is actively evading the most difficult task and refusing to carry the torch. He is losing supporters online and using every excuse to do so. Helwani wasn't merely making fun of it, he brought receipts. Ariel even likened it to the greats of other sports, pointing out that real legends face the fire on their way out rather than flee it. He disclosed fresh behind-the-scenes information on the UFC's attempts to schedule the battle between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. Ariel claims that Jones's financial demands were actually satisfied by the UFC. They gave him the money he had been requesting, and although he initially agreed, he later changed his mind. The UFC continued to press for the fight even after that, but they were unable to convince Jones to commit. Helwani claims that Jones is still interested in fighting, but not against Aspinall in particular. It's not that he doesn't want to fight at all. That is the issue, which is why so many people are describing this as a disgrace to what would have been the most illustrious legacy in heavyweight history.
They got him the money, but there was a back and forth. They got him that money. They finally got him that money. And he said yes. And then he said no. And since he said no, they've been trying to figure out a way to get him to do this fight. One last fight. He ain't budging. That he is not interested. When I say not interested, I don't mean not interested in fighting. I mean not interested in fighting Tom Aspinall specifically. Tom thinks he's cooking with all of these right here. He thinks he's having like the greatest run on Twitter. What's really happening is he's cooking his own legacy right now. He's making a mockery of his legacy. Show me a great champion. Show me a great. From Jordan to Tom Brady to Ali to Lemieux to Gretzky. Show me someone who acted like this in their final chapter. Show me. Who refused to pay it forward. Jon just doesn't want anything to do with Tom. I think speaks volume, because here he is campaigning for a Francis Ngannou fight.
According to Luke Thomas, who recently analyzed Corey Sandhagen's chances against Georgian powerhouse Dvalishvili, the champion may face a far more difficult opponent than people may anticipate. Luke claims that one of the main contributing elements is Corey's risky leg lock technique, which might pose a serious threat to Morab if he employs the same grappling entrances and stances that he used against Shana Ali at UFC 316. The Georgian was going for the finish in that fight, which required him to take more chances and be more vulnerable than he usually is. Although Sandhagen's ground game is more sophisticated and aggressive, Suga was defeated by that aggression. According to Luke, Corey's jiu-jitsu consists solely of his submissions. If Morab becomes careless, Sandhagen's ability to start chaos and change momentum is exceptional. Corey might grab hold of something and turn the battle around, but Morab's stifling approach and elite cardio mean that he doesn't simply defeat opponents, he breaks them. If Corey can't stop that storm, he might end up next. There is a lot of interest and potential for fireworks in this game because the Sandman is one of the few elite contenders Morab hasn't yet faced.
So this is, to me, the million-dollar question. On the feet, obviously, he's a lot better than Morab. Okay, no question in my mind.
Long, leaps in, all kinds of awkwardness.
Yeah, and he can obviously use knees in a way that he can combine disparate striking elements. Also, really no question in my mind, if Morab wants the takedown, he can get it. The issue for me in both the first fight and in particular the second fight is that when he got taken down into open space and now he's flat on his back and he's got full guard, that was a problem in the first fight and that was a problem in the second fight. The question you have to ask yourself is, does Corey have a solution to that problem? But I believe that the leg locking game of Corey Sandhagen could be quite valuable. Now, the problem is it's going to be very difficult to get into a good place to do them when Morab goes chest to chest, 2 knees on the ground. Although in this fight, he kind of opened up a little bit more. He had good tight control, but at the same time, he was willing to create some space to do that.
Arman Tsarukyan is currently dealing with severe legal issues that could result in his incarceration. Russian authorities targeted UFC legend Khabib Nurmagomedov just last year due to a huge $3 million tax problem. Arman is now in a similar situation, but on a much lower scale. According to reports, Tsarukyan owes the Russian Federal Tax Service approximately $1,100, or 9,500 rubles. Even though it doesn't seem like much in comparison to Khabib's situation, it's enough to get the government's attention. Tsarukyan's numerous assets such as a gym in the US, a rental apartment in Miami, a property management company in Russia, and luxury vehicles with personalized license plates, such as a Mercedes G-Wagon and a Lamborghini Urus, have also been noted by the tax department. Arman's father runs a prosperous construction company. Therefore, it's obvious that he hails from a wealthy family. His wealth and way of life outside of the octagon are explained by this background. although there are now little facts available. It's still important to monitor the tax debt because there may be updates soon. Although tax evasion issues are not new to the MMA community, fighters' public perception and career outcomes can be impacted by their financial management. Due to his enormous tax burden, Khabib had an extremely difficult and convoluted relationship with the Russian government. He had to escape to the United Arab Emirates at one point in order to dodge legal repercussions. He was actually threatened with jail time if he didn't pay the debt after his gym was searched. The severity of the crackdown demonstrated how harsh the government can be when it comes to unpaid taxes. Even though Arman apparently owes a lot less, he is currently in a similar situation. On these issues, the Russian government is renowned for its strictness. The government won't hesitate to put Arman in jail if he doesn't pay. But of course, that won't be a problem because he has a wealthy father who is supporting him. After losing his title match against Morab this past weekend, former UFC bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling just posted a video on YouTube discussing his opinions on Sean Ali's future. According to him, Ali will no longer be given advantageous stylistic bouts by the UFC and will instead have to struggle with the hardest opponents in the division, including Mario Bautista, Kyler Phillips, Umar Nurmagomedov, and even Peter Jan. Despite Ali's indisputable skill, Sterling acknowledged the depth of the bantamweight class, referring to it as a shark tank, and pointed out that some strategies, like as the one Bautista employed, can make fights difficult for him. In order to gauge Ali's will to return to the top, he proposed Sonya Dong as a possible opponent. A few of stylistic mismatches that might work in O'Malley's advantage were also noted by Alju. For example, former Bellator champion Patchy Mix had trouble with Batista's boxing at UFC 316. However, Ali has hinted at a possible switch to the featherweight division, opening up a new chapter of possibilities. Sterling stressed that only the hardest difficulties are ahead in the packed 135 pounds class. Since Ali is no longer champion and has lost his spot in the title conversation, making the switch to featherweight could provide Suga in a category full of exciting competitors. Sean has had new matchups, using his lanky physique and striking ability. Heavy-hitting fighters like Diego Lopez and powerful heavy wrestlers like Mozor Evlov, however, might be difficult for Suga to handle. Can you imagine? Sean opposes Ya Rodriguez's fireworks given his size. O'Malley might have an advantage over some of the lesser featherweights, though the division's top fighters would put his chin, grappling, and durability to the test in ways bantamweight hasn't. His sniper-like hitting and knack for knockouts might make him a serious contender.